So after the happenings occurred, we have pop art, which literally means popular. So the artists of pop found a wealth of visual materials and mass-produced things that were all around them, right? Warhol and Lichtenstein are the two most commonly thought of. So this is The Golden Marilyn Monroe by Warhol from 1962. We've seen some of his pieces before, like the Campbell Soup labels, multiple Mona Lisas, that kind of thing. But during this time, this was right around the time that she committed suicide, right? So this is a silkscreen reproduction of her black and white publicity photograph, and he used this image dozens and dozens of times, sometimes by itself, sometimes in multiple, sometimes in color, sometimes in black and white, right? Just depending on how he felt and what he wanted to do. And then this is Lichtenstein's Blam from 1962. It's adapted from a frame in the comic series All American Men of War. So he cropped the original image, rotated it 45 degrees to reduce the color scheme to the three primary colors, and simplified the depiction. So most importantly, he enlarged it to over 5 feet in height, and in the process enlarging the dot pattern of the painting, which is really hard to see here, but in all originals it's really easy to see. And that was kind of his thing. That's what he did time and time and time again. So abstraction and photorealism. So there's two different types of artwork coming out of this time period, right? Hard edge painting, variety of color field painting, which the areas of the flat color separated by sharp, precise lines instead of them bleeding into each other like Rothko. And then photorealism, which is pretty straightforward. So this is Frank Stella's Harun 2. No, there's not a Harun 1 if you're asking. One of the first pieces in his Protractor series. One of the most wonderful things about this is that he literally broke the square mold, right? He actually made his own canvases in these unique shapes, which no one had ever done before, and then the hard edge color painting is pretty obvious. But kept repeating that protractor shape, right? And then this is a photorealistic painting by Chuck Close. This is called Phil from 1969. This is not in your book, but I think it's really worth mentioning, especially because Chuck Close has a disease which makes him unable to remember what people's faces look like, even those who are nearest and dearest to him. So he started doing this series of very large-scale, very photorealistic black and white paintings of the people who are closest to him in the hopes that he would remember their faces. As far as I know, it did not work because it is a medical condition and there's nothing that has been found to fix that. But this is a piece of Philip Guston, who's actually a really well-known figurative painter. So next came minimalism and post-minimalism, right? Sought to rid art of representation once and for all by making specific objects that could be understood as nothing but themselves, and then post-minimalism, a variety of interrelated trends. So this is a piece by Donald Judd called Untitled Stack from 1967. Quote by him, "A work of art needs only to be interesting. It doesn't necessarily have to be talking about something or have a deeper meaning or be a commentary on anything," right? That's what he really believed. And then process art and installation, the meaning of a work embraced what it was made of and how it was made, right? Process art. And then installation, spaces conceived of as works of art for viewers to enter and experience, which we've seen before. So this is a piece by Ava Hess. She was a artist kind of before her time and was taken too early. She worked with a lot of latex and fiberglass, a lot of very toxic materials, which they didn't know of back in the 60s and 70s, so she unfortunately died of a brain tumor. But she made a lot of really cool pieces before she left us. Too bad she couldn't stay and made a lot more cool ones too. And then Dan Flavin, Pink Out of a Corner. Is precisely what the title suggests, pink light coming out of a corner, right? Artist plan for the commercially made pink fluorescent light to be installed And when he came up with the idea for the work, the installation also allows the walls to become part of the work. Each of these elements, bulb, corner, walls, visitors, becomes part of the installation, right? If you walk into that space, you're going to become part of it. So he dedicated the work to Jasper Johns, paid homage to another artist who made art with common and familiar items.